to the channel. So bright and early today, so it's nearly 9 o'clock in the morning. I've already travelled here to the shed to work some more on Dennis. The idea today is to try and crack the back of a few tasks. That being said, the first task could well end up taking me all day. So the first task is to sort out the lift pump for the cab. So I've got a bit of a dilemma really on this one. I have got a fully functioning pump for lifting the cab, but on that one, this rod here is broken off it. So this one would have to go on that pump. Alternatively, I don't know whether or not the pump I've got on my truck is perfectly okay. It's just that obviously this has come off because that pin broke. And I've also lost this pump gland off here. So the dilemma really is, do I put the pump that I know works onto the truck and somehow manage to fit this old adaptation, whatever you want to call it, onto that one? Do I take off the bits that I need from the pump that I know is working to fix my pump and put this on? I don't know. Either way, this needs to be fixed. And when I say this needs to be fixed, if you remember back when I said this was broken, this is bent. So we've actually got a bend on this piece here. I've tried straightening it in the vise. Wasn't having any of that. I tried warming it up with a butane torch. That wasn't having it either. So the next option is to go for something a little hotter and go for MAPP gas. MAPP gas, it's basically got a bit of acetylene in it as well as some other gases. Burns a lot hotter, very good for doing things like this. So that's what today's job is. Initially, let's see if we can straighten this. So the first thing I'm going to try and do is see if I can get this this pin out. That was fairly easy. Okay, now the harder bit is seeing if we can straighten this. So I'm going to get some heat on it first. So what I'm doing is I'm just having a look. I don't know if you can see, I don't know if it'll focus on it. Just looking at the holes. The holes line up now, I can actually see straight through. So they're lining up, which should mean that the pins will go through. It's still a little bit splayed open, but I should be able to rectify that fairly easily. So I'm just going to let that hold there and let that cool down. What I might try and do is I might just give it all a little bit of a clean up whilst we're at it. So this is the other pump. I was going to call it a new pump. Clearly it's not a new pump. But been assured, and it feels like this is all working fine. So what I'm going to do is take both pins out, because this top piece, which as I say is broken here, that's going to have to be replaced. So either I put the one I've just straightened on here and put this whole pump mechanism on the truck, or I have a look to see whether or not I can put this on the put the pin and the piston onto my existing truck. But the first thing I need to do is get those pins out. Which is easier said than done when you're trying to clamp this. That's one pin out. Two pins out. It should mean that this off. So that's the broken one. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to give this a bit of a clean before trying to take that piston out, because what I want to do is I want to take this out really carefully to see if that washer is intact on there, which hopefully it is. What am I doing? Right, so I'm going to get something to clean it with. My gut feeling is to take this out and see if I can get it in and working in the other truck. There we have it. So that's what's broken on the other one. So as you can see, that's what I've lost on the other one. So by inserting that into the other one, together with that other piece, hopefully, and those new pins, hopefully we can get somewhere. What's going to be fun is trying to get those pins in place. Oh Jesus, look at that, it's disintegrating. It literally is breaking apart. Okay, it's not the tidiest job in the world, but what I've decided to do, because I've had a look on the internet, so the pump is, you can't see it on this one because it's all worn off, but on my one it's actually in really good condition. If I think on, I'll drop a photograph into the video showing you on my one. But the pump is manufactured by MTM Hydroaid, or at least that's the name that's on it, in Oswestry. Now I've had a little look, that company doesn't seem to exist anymore. There is an MTM over in Armagh in Ireland, but that seems to be a different company altogether. So had a good look around. I can't seem to be able to get one of those replacement washers anywhere. So what I've done is basically I've just carved out crudely from a piece of rubber a new washer, and put that on. And now that I've done that, hopefully, yeah, that looks like that will work. So the next thing to do then is to put this back together, or put this bit back together first to try and get that on, to get that ready. And then the worst job is going to be getting that pin through that linkage on my truck, because obviously here it's nice and easy. I've got a bench, I've got a vise, I've got daylight, or I've got light at least, in order to be able to do it. On the truck, I'm doing all that inside the vehicle, actually trying to get it inside the bodywork. So that's going to be difficult. So what I can do initially is see how I'm going to get the pins in on this one, so I know what I need to do on the other one. And it needs to be something I can do over there, so there's no point just trying to squeeze it in with a vise, because, as I say, over there I'm not going to be able to do that. I'll use the vise obviously to hold it initially. No, I won't. Not holding it like that anyway. Holding it on the on there. Put a bit of WD on it just to see if it will lubricate it a touch. So that goes in relatively easily, but as I say, that's because I've got a vise. What I've got to try to do is see if I can put that in on the truck. So I think what I'll do initially is I'll tap it in here, so that we'll at least get it in place. And then we'll put some grease on it. Yeah, see, we're through there.
So there we have it. That was not an easy task, getting that in there. Did have to take it off again and just do a little bit more straightening on it because it was just a little bit out of line, which was stopping that pin from going through. But the pin is in, so that's all sorted. The next question then, after that, is obviously does it work? So it's on lower at the moment. And that feels, not only does it feel like it's pumping, but it also doesn't feel like there's anything coming past the seal. In fact, that's going tight now, so that says to me that that's as tight as it'll go. So the next job is to see if we can raise the cab, which was the initial issue. We couldn't get the cab to come up. Now, through talking to various people, what we seem to think is that the pins, wherever they are, that the cab locks in on, aren't releasing. So what I'm going to do is I'll have a climb around under the cab, see if I can find out where those pins are, and then I'll see if I can get the camera on them. Okay, so it wasn't possible to get the camera really in. In fact, let me just try and show you. So there is the locking pin, and we've got the same on the other side, and that's the mechanism, and that's the bit I don't think released previously. And as you can see, it has now, because what I've done is I've soaked it with WD-40, gave it a tap, and it seems to have done the job. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to jack up the rest of the cab, or see if the cab will jack up, and we'll then try and grease up those. I'll try and grease up those locking pins. Just gently letting the spotlights hang down. Don't really want them hanging down too much because they're on the cables. But let's see if we can. Okay, so cleaned up all the locking mechanism for the pins, done the same on the other side, I don't need to show you that. Cleaned all the locking mechanism up, given it all a nice good greasing up. It now moves really freely. I've even greased up a little bit just on the ends there, just so that the pins slide in, you know, nicely, so they don't jam at all on it. So hopefully that will resolve that issue. As I say, whilst the cab is up, there's a few other jobs I'm going to do. I'm going to clean the underside, give it all a good coating with some Underseal, to just clean all the just to prep all the inside of there. Then what I want to do is, which I think is going to be my next job, is have a look at the two-tones, because at the moment the two-tones, they just blow the fuse. As soon as you connect put a fuse in and power it, not even put the switch on, literally as soon as power goes from the battery, the fuse blows. So there's clearly something wrong with that.